Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I want to do a quick video about my first couple days of experience with the NuVision Solo Draw. This is the tablet that was selling in the Microsoft store initially for $99. But you know, which is not that rare, obviously. But this was the one that was selling for $99 with a pen. So it uses MPP, which is N-Trig, right? N-Trig type pen. And so it got a little bit of a press there. So I was kind of interested in it at $99, but I kind of hesitated. Didn't have time to play around. Buy something and play around at the time, and then they raised the price to $250, so there, you know, that sort of killed my interest. But then recently they lowered the price to $90 for the silver, no, I'm sorry, pink and the blue versions. So silver version is still $99, which is a big improvement over $250, but still, you know, I'm cheap, so even though I probably would rather have silver than for this blue, which isn't really terrible actually. Anyways, so let's find out what the pen experience is like, because obviously I really don't care about the other aspects that much. This is really all about the pen for me. There's a couple other videos online on YouTube regarding the general tablet experience. You can watch that for information. But quickly, I think it's a fairly well built tablet. The IPS screen is really nice looking. Probably the only negative aspect of the screen is that it doesn't get too bright. This is 50%, 75, 100%. This is 100%, which is not as bright as some of the other tablets I have, but it's serviceable. So, and I wouldn't burn it at 100%. I think the battery life is the reason they kind of limited the brightness, in my opinion. But you know, if you're using it for sketching and whatnot, and you know, you don't necessarily have to do it 8 hours a day on the go, so it still might be a very useful tablet. Can't speak for, you know, how good the tablet is gonna do in the long term, obviously, but let's just answer the questions we can. Here's the pen that it comes with. It feels a lot like the Surface Pro 3 pen that I was using with my Surface 3, actually. It has similar circular sort of side buttons with similar clicky feel. The pen tip feels very much the same as well. It's very short and stubby pen. Here's here's the Bamboo Ink Smart for comparison. I guess it's not that much shorter, but you know, it's noticeably shorter. So, and this is the sleeve that it comes with. I mean, I guess it's okay for something that they're in there for free. I think the reason they did it is twofold: to protect the screen. You can sort of store it, you know, backwards. Just imagine that I put it in there like that, and then, you know, there's a little place for the pen, and you can put it in the bag without worrying about scratching up the screen. So it's free. It's fine, I guess, for what it is. But let's get to the real reason we were talking about this guy, which is the pen action. Oh, here, I've already got that. So this Clip Studio trial version that I've installed in there. I tweaked the chalk brush so it starts registering at very low pressure. Again, it feels very much like how the old Surface Pro 3 pen felt on Surface 3, which is an Atom device, but that Atom processor is actually much more faster than this one. This one is coming up as something like well, it's the Z8350, but on tests it's coming up about 50% slower in performance to the Z8700 that was in the Surface 3. But even with that, if your canvas size is not that crazy big, in this case I think this is 1700 by 2200, so still usable, but it's not stupid big like I usually have it on my other tablets. It feels okay. It's not that laggy. Obviously that has to do a lot with the efficiency of Clip Studio, but you know, it's very usable for light sketching and quick concept stuff, I think. And you know, the pen, if the, you know, things like the activation force is, obviously it's higher than something like the Bamboo Ink Smart. So you can see that I'm putting really light pressure, but it's coming out darker because this pen, for some reason, much like the older Surface pens, is very biased towards the low pressure. So, you know, the activation force isn't any different than the old Surface tablets. So I would say about, you know, 7 to 10 grams ish. But once it gets going, it just stays at the low end pressure till you really press it, and then it blows out. So the pressure curve, if you can imagine the pressure curve on a graph like this, so, you know, low pressure, high pressure, and this is the amount of ink that comes out, right? This pen behaves something like this. So it's low, low, low until you go past a certain threshold, and then it just blows out. I much more prefer a linear sort of pressure curve. I guess it's not a curve, but you know, that's what something like the Wacom Bamboo Ink Smart does. It has a very linear pressure, so you know, light is light, and then can slowly build up to something really dark. So that's one thing that you have to keep in mind with this pen, that it'll feel weird if you're used to this, but then again, if you're used to Surface Pro 3 pen, it might be okay. Obviously you can buy this for this, because as you can see it works. It's MPP, and you know, Bamboo Ink Smart is dual protocol, but you have to ask yourself if you want to pick up a $70 pen to use on your $90 tablet. If you already had it, that's great. So let's say you already have a bunch of tablets, or you have another main tablet that's MPP or Wacom AAS, and you have this pen, then you happen to pick this up for some, you know, I don't know, light duty on the go or whatever, or something you don't want to, you don't mind thrashing around because it's so cheap. Great, you can use your Bamboo Ink Smart. But I guess the wisdom of picking this up just for this is a bit shaky. But it's up to you, I guess. I mean, it's definitely a better experience if you do pick it up. But let's just do the rest of the test with the pack-in pen, which again, it's perfectly usable. It's just that you have to get used to the wonky pressure curve behavior like that. So, you know, it's got a high initial activation force, and then it really just doesn't get dark till you really push it. So it's kind of hard to control a gradual light to dark, but still usable. So the thing about it though is, so the key thing is to keep the canvas size relatively small. Wait for things to happen. So if you're using, you know, resizing, or even just picking up the, you know, just calling up the menu, there's some silly things that happens. the UI, usually once the things have loaded from the relatively slow EMCC drive, it's okay. But then again, you don't have that much RAM either. It's only got like 2 gigs of RAM, so keep that in mind. So it's really for really light duty sketching and note taking and stuff like that. But given a decent program like the Clip Studio, you can do that pretty well with this device. Yeah, it's $90. It's really hard to complain when it's $90. The only thing I would worry about it is, this thing breaking before the warranty's over, or, I mean, right now I had it for a couple days, trying it out till within the Microsoft Store return period, and so we'll see how it goes. One thing I noticed about these low-end MPP Atom tablets is that there's a big difference. So let me quickly bring out my other Atom tablet. This is the Asus VivoTab Note 10. It's a fairly old tablet. The interesting about this guy is that it uses Wacom EMR. That's how old it is. It's like 2014, right? It's one of the last ones to use EMR. But thing about EMR, especially and maybe just Wacom in general, is that Wacom puts a little more extra circuitry or chipset, a little more capable chipset with their digitizers, so that I think what's happening is MPP, just base low-end stuff that they sell nowadays for cheap stuff, cheap tablets. It really relies on CPU power to do the pen processing. So versus, I think Wacom always had some level of processing in their chipset on the digitizer board, so that it offloads a lot of that from the CPU. So this CPU here is the previous generation Atom. So again, this is Z8350, right? Or X5 Z80. That's the full name. And this guy is, I think it's a Z37. No, I think 3740. I think that's the model name. It's really much weaker processor. I would say this one scores like at least about 50% more on performance tests than this guy, right? But the thing about it is, because it's offloading a lot of the processing, this feels smoother and faster. There's no lag with the pen, as long as the canvas size is manageable. Here, there's still a little bit of initial sort of hiccups and kind of like waiting for figuring out what the heck the pen's doing. It just seems not as butter smooth. But then again, this guy was like $300 when it was brand new, and this is right now $90 at Microsoft Store. So it's kind of hard to complain, I suppose. Another thing is that the NuVision here is sporting a pretty high resolution display. I think this is 1080p, 1920 by 1080. This is only 1280 by 800, so that must have some impact on the performance. Well, the canvas resolution right now was set to 1700 by 2200, so that doesn't really matter. But the impact that the screen resolution has is, I think, there for sure. But once the pen here gets going, it's okay. It's just sometimes the initial stroke gets a little confused and whatnot. And obviously hover distance on these capacitive pro stuff is not as good as EMR, which has much higher hover distance. So there's another little point of distinction there. But obviously you can't get these anymore. You can find it on eBay, but you don't know what condition they're in. I've been lucky with this one that it hasn't broken yet, but you know, even then, you know, this you're gonna have to spend about 150 for a decent one, right? Plus, you're gonna have to get a separate pen because the pen that comes with is like a toothpick, you know. So the NuVision here might be compelling for many people. It's serviceable, it's doable, it's usable, you know. I haven't tested things like a WinTab driver. I'm sure that the N-Trig driver from Surface Line probably will run on this. Just have to make sure you get the 32-bit version, I guess. What else? But you know, it's look at it, $90 out the door. You know, so if you obviously Sketch, you know, Sketch Pro and other programs will work on this as well. You know, I think you should go towards the stuff that uses the Microsoft driver. So Clip Studio obviously is the best among those. Clip Studio you can find for like $25, sometimes on sale. So you know, together 90. Well, I paid. It's $90, but plus tax and whatnot, it ended up being 105 plus 25, 130. 130, you can get a completely usable, actually even good sketching experience, you know, on this tablet. Yeah, look, it's fine. It's perfectly usable. Yeah, drawing kind of sucks here, but you know, you get the idea. It's fast enough, fluid enough. Yeah, it's usable. Yeah. Hopefully it's built well enough that it lasts more than a few months, right? I mean, if it does that, then I don't know what more you can ask for your $100-ish. Man, like 5 years ago, I would have been very, very happy to get this tablet for, you know, a few $100. And compared to something like, you know, Android tablet like Samsung Galaxy Tab A with S Pen, which sells for like, I don't know, $320 at Best Buy. This thing's a freaking bargain, right? And it's much more usable because you can run Photoshop and you can run Clip Studio. You know, all the drag they have on Android is really not really usable. Even compared to iPad Pro, which is obviously much more powerful than this and much more premium product, you know, even that you have to rely on what's that? Procreate. That's the only decent program in my opinion that's on there. And Clip Studio plus this for $130-ish, you're matching that and blowing that away in my opinion. So usability wise, you know, it's the value proposition is really, you know, second to none. So anyways, that's my quick look and comparison and review, I guess, slightly. slight review. Is that even slight review? That's a weird phrase. Anyways, quick look at the NuVision Solo Draw 10. Thanks for watching.